Good afternoon to all of you and a warm welcome to each one of you. I know we are all going through a difficult phase. The COVID period has definitely put pressure on particularly the startup community and more so with the early stage startups. So at TiE, we are doing various activities, programs to see that we can be of support to you all. TiE Mumbai has worked with various other TiE chapters to represent to the different government bodies, to central government, to see that lot of our grievances and suggestions are heard. We've also organized multiple programs, TiE Academy, different seminars. I will not use the term webinar because there seems to be some fatigue with the word webinar. And our TiE board member Raj Nair is being called B. Nair by his own daughter. So we would call it a virtual seminar or seminar. So today's program, this event, the purpose was that the government has announced a big package for MSME sector. And how does our startup community, startups particularly fall under that criteria, get the benefit of that? So what are these benefits? What can we get out of that? And how do we as startups qualify for the MSA package? So we discussed with Nayan Patel. Nayan has been very passionate. I know personally for a very long time. He has been very passionate for MSME sector and he has been advocating for MSME sector, liaising with government to see that the sector gets supported. And that he has done in his multiple roles. So let me briefly introduce Nayan Patel, who will be the moderator for today's session. Nayan was born in London and did his mechanical engineering from West Germany. He had his postgraduate assignment in the field of impact intrusion technology and automation with attachments at several reputed manufacturing organizations in Germany. Nayan is an executive director of Patel Extrusion Group, engaged in the manufacture of aluminum collapsible tubes. He pioneered the design and manufacture of fully automatic tube manufacturing lines and also set up Beckham Controls Private Limited, which provides and manufactures motion control devices such as cam indexers and slip rings. Widely traveled, Nayan has planned and implemented many important joint venture projects. He also runs plants practically worldwide in multiple countries. So, apart from his very busy schedule in his own industries, he has been very active in multiple organizations. The most notable being is having been president of Indian Merchants Chamber, and that too is important because centenary year 2006-07, and he has been active with Merchants Chamber for a long time and continues to remain so. Apart from that, he's been president of Pharmaceutical and Allied Manufacturers and Distributors Association, Bombay Industries Association, Aerosol Promotion Council of India. He's also on the board of TiE Mumbai along with me. He's also on the board of Namaste America, where we work together again. So he's been contributing a lot to society. Particularly today is Nayan's role as a passionate advocate and supporter of MSME sector. and therefore also the startup community. So I would hand over to Nayan to moderate today's session and take it forward.
Thank you, Atul. Well, good afternoon, friends. Atul, thank you for this introduction, which was not necessary. But friends, the various announcements that the government has made in the recent past has brought MSMEs once again into the center stage of Indian economy. For some time, the word MSME was lost. About 7 crore MSME in the country, employing over 15 crore people, out of which, and they contribute to almost 40% of our GDP and 30% of our foreign exchange earning. We must caution that out of these 77 crores, 99.5% of the MSMEs are the micro sector. A very small percentage contribute to are in the small and medium sector. Of course, marginally there will be shift in the statistics since the definition has been expanded. However, the turn of events in the past few months, this sector is plunged into deep crisis. As it is, the demand side was poor before the last year, and during COVID-19, the business in this sector came to a almost standstill. Yet, statutory payments had to be made, payment for wages and salaries had to be made, other expenses continued, and this really had a big toll on Indian MSMEs. The hitherto financially stressed units have now gone into red zone. In fact, I call them deep, dark red zone, and almost reached a point of no return. There are many suggestions and expectations in MSME sectors that were given to the government to provide a good support or a stimulus package. However, given the wisdom and maybe some constraints of the government, our Honorable Finance Minister announced a 3 lakh crore package for the MSME. Unfortunately, none of the proposals were in the form of an immediate cash relief, but only short and medium term support by way of additional loans. How much that will help the sector? My guess, very little or practically zero. They have also redefined the definition of MSME so as to bring in more companies into the fold of the MSME sector and therefore make them eligible of this loan scheme. So we at TiE thought it was necessary to understand and explain the implications of these amendments as also the schemes for loans offered by the government, especially for the benefit of our startup units who can now qualify to be registered as MSMEs and take advantage. They are still a startup business. Therefore, many do not have the support of any venture capitalists or other modes of finance. So they would like to they should get registered in the MSME sector and maybe take advantage. My experts here today will dwell more on that subject. So to run through these two subjects, one, that is the MSME sector, the registration and how startups can take advantage of MSME. And the second part, to take advantage of the 3 lakh crore loan package that the government has offered, how they can do that, the intricacies of those loans, how intricacies of how to apply, when to get, what time will it take, what interest. I think I have got two experts on the panel today to discuss this. They will make their initial remarks for about 15 minutes each, and then we shall take up questions from the participants. I would not like to give my initial thoughts or my comments on the subject and leave it to the two experts. So let us begin with first Mr. Shirish Kotmere, who will speak on the MSME sector. Mr. Kotmere is an alumnus of NIT Surat Kal, having done his BTech in computer science, and later on he did his MBA from IIM Bangalore in marketing. During his 25 years career in sales and marketing, he was associated with Asian Paints, Rediff.com, Tata AIG General Insurance, Bharti Airtel, Reliance Retail, and GVK Mumbai Airport. This vast experience, and during all these years, he has executed aggressive go-to-market plans to create and rapidly scale up strong consumer engaging franchises. For the last 6 years, he is dedicated to promoting or to interacting with promoters and co-founders of MSMEs and startups to mold their ventures in an investor-friendly manner. He regularly conducts startup garage workshops to create or repair compelling value propositions by providing ideas, executions, and business model innovations. Over to you, Mr. Kotmere. I think your views and guidance to the startup community and other MSME members that have joined in on how they should realign themselves to take benefit of the newly announced MSME definition would be of great help. So over to you, Mr. Kotmere.
Thank you, Atul bhai and Nayan bhai for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts today. What I would just like to emphasize is that most of what I will be sharing today is based on my experience in two startups of businesses in two similar crises in the past. One is the 2000 dot-com bust, and the second is 2008 with the Lehman Brothers problems. In the first instance, I was in a dot-com which raised funds on a Nasdaq listing just before the dot-com bust, and in the second, I was part of a retail business of one of India's most valued companies, which has raised over 1 lakh crore in the last 15-20 days. So with this experience, I have added my observations of working for the last 6 years with co-founders and promoters, and like to make something that can be of use to all of you. Since time is short, let me dive into the topic directly. For all the startups and MSMEs in the audience, I can understand the frustration and angst that you're facing. But believe me, have the patience and the confidence, and things will work out. So I'm sure you're able to see the slides. So I'll be using slides and speaking at the same time. So if I reflect back, there is a need to manage two sides of the coin. One side, in such a crisis, I mean, on one side is the imminent and visible negative part because everything around you seems to be negative. And then there's the hidden positive or opportunity part. I will try and outline both quickly for you so that you can choose. And as Nayan said, based on what I speak, maybe if there are questions, we can address it there. First, let us go through the stimulus package. So what does the stimulus package talk about? First is, as Nayan mentioned, there is a change in the definition of an MSME. According to the revised definition, it has now come up with investment of to 1 crore and 5 crore. I will not repeat this because most of this is in the public domain, but I'll just try and tell you the impact. Similarly for small businesses and then medium businesses. The second big change is that the differentiation between manufacturing and services have been removed. So there is no difference between treating manufacturing and services companies. The second thing is that, as Nayan mentioned, there's a 3 lakh crore collateral and free and guaranteed loans for existing borrowers. Then there is a MSME scheme which talks about distressed assets fund for MSMEs. And finally, there is a fund of funds which talks about an equity infusion in MSMEs. Please note that throughout the 5 days that the finance minister presented this, the word startup did not come about in any of the presentations. But still, after that, a lot of other financial institutions have launched funds or assistance. Like SIDBI has launched the Corona or COVID-19 startup assistance scheme with the eligibility criteria of someone who has raised at least one round of VC funds and whose liquidity and cash has been rapidly affected by the COVID-19. Now, apart from this, all these are in the public domain. You can visit the SIDBI site. The link is there. Now, what is the key part about all this? If one looks at, I will be only covering the fund of funds part because the rest will be covered by Mr. Biswal, who is the Executive Director of Union Bank of India. So what is the perceived impact of these announcements? The first impact is suddenly a lot of startups are going and registering themselves as MSMEs. And the second is that small businesses who were not MSMEs earlier are going and registering themselves. So that is the perceived impact. What is the real impact? The real impact is that competition has increased. And unlike the moratorium scheme that has been announced, you have to go and pitch. Nothing is automatic here. Now, before we start looking at startups jumping into the skin of MSMEs and vice versa, let us understand what are the basic principles that MSMEs have to keep in mind before you see the venture capital funds or fund of funds. In fact, the fund of funds is nothing new. Our Honorable Prime Minister announced it in 2015 for the Startup India, about 10,000 crores. And from reliable sources, I understand about 4,000 crores has been already disbursed in the last 4 years. For most of you, nothing would have changed except that the fund of funds that is announced now has an increase in size. It is 50,000. But please understand the government is giving only 10,000 out of this, to, and the rest of the 40,000 will be got in by alternate investment funds or other funds. So that's the concept of the government. Now, what has changed for MSMEs? MSMEs have to understand first the kind of equity infusion and funding that you are going inside for, and how do these fund of funds work. There are two principles in which this fund of funds work. One is the valuation, and second is the exit. Unlike a bank loan where the exit is automatic, I mean, after you finish the loan, it's the interest earning that the bank gets. But here, the fund of funds has to get a significant exit. Now, if you look at a MSME which is into manufacturing, how can it project a business plan with rapidly scaling revenues and showing a very high bump in valuation to be attractive to qualify under the fund of funds? As Nayan mentioned, today what I will be covering with you is that how do you make yourself amenable to this? And how can you avail of something like this? What are the key steps that you are taking? Because as of now, it seems that startups who are registering as MSMEs are more amenable to raising funds to the fund of funds because they have experience of projecting business plans which can show growth, show a lot of valuation upside. Now, before we go ahead, I just wanted to cover what is the basic difference between an MSME and a startup. An MSME executes a known business model, while startups, as most of you in the audience will know, they are in the eternal search of a business model that can be executed. Startups, unlike MSMEs service a need that is already there, whereas startups have to create the need, they have to solve a challenging problem, use R&D, innovation, technology to satisfy that problem. So now, in the current situation, if MSMEs are crossing the Lakshman Rekha and becoming startups, and startups are doing vice versa, then what is the difference? The difference is that both MSMEs and startups have to reduce their ambition. And by reducing ambition, I mean very strictly reducing ambition. For example, don't try to design a luxury car in the COVID-19 time for someone who has a budget of an entry-level car, and maybe by the end of this webinar, the budget would have decreased to that of a two-wheeler. So be very, very careful of what you are designing. The second part is that MSMEs are more used than startups to borrowing funds for capex and working capital, while startups are more oriented towards VC funds for R&D and marketing costs, and less focus on working capital and expenses. So, what is the impact of this? So, if you have a very, very dire need of funds, what is shown on the slide, if you can just have a look, there is also a Mudra scheme where up to 10 lakh, this is already announced scheme, and I'm sure Mr. Biswal can cover it in detail, or we can go to the website and see it. Up to 10 lakhs of collateral-free loan can be given, interest on only the amount that you borrow for the time to work. I know many startups which have used this Mudra scheme as well. If it really means a very short-term, up to 10 lakh kind of requirement, then you can go in for this as well. The reason why I'm covering this entire thing, and even if you're trying to raise a loan and you do not want to dilute equity, because for me, what I understand from both MSMEs and startups is that at the beginning of your ventures, you would not like to dilute too much of equity. So post-COVID, I mean, the situation has changed, but instead of diluting equity, the other option apart from a bank loan is also venture debt funds. I mean, you can get at 14% loans between 10 to 50 lakhs for durations of 24 to 36 months as well as short term as well. So debt funds also are an alternative. I mean, I can share more details. Due to lack of time, I will not in this forum. So finally, The one side of the coin that I was saying that is a danger is the fact that if you raise funds for the wrong reasons, imagine an MSME taking up a loan for investment in R&D or marketing expenditure, and a startup raising or using a loan for using working capital. Both of them are not going to work. So my request to you is, so quickly, if you look at what is the reason you're raising the funds, otherwise you will raise funds and the funds will vanish quickly and you will be at the same place. So that's the first danger to be avoided. Now let's come to the main topic today, that how do MSMEs and startups change their approach to ensure that they qualify for this. The first thing is, as is mentioned on the slide, is that please understand which business are you in. What part of your, there are a few questions that I would like to throw open, which part of your current business has not got affected by COVID-19? And I'm sure the
Shirish
answer
sir,
will be, it's understandable.
Shirish sir, sorry to interrupt. Can you
Yeah.
please speak a bit louder, or it
Yeah.
could...
It's audible now?
Yeah, it's audible now.
Yeah. So first is, which business are you in? And the question that you need to ask are, which part of your current business has not got affected by COVID? Are your revenues front loaded? I mean, are there any subscription revenues that you can get in advance? Second is, have you stopped in the past of servicing a credit risk customer? Because if a startup registers as an MSME, there is a big advantage that private and government, outstandings that are there can be recovered in 45 days. Of course, there are rules around this, but but that's a big advantage. So if a startup is registering as an MSME and you want to sell to a credit risk customer, there is still a way out. Third, is technology a part of servicing your customers? I'm sure MSMEs may not have invested in technology as much as startups would have, but that's a good way in which you can apply for funds saying that this you need for deployment of technology and changing your business model. Lastly, in your business, are there possibility of government tenders, or can you change your business model or your business to appeal to government tenders? Because the other announcement in the economic stimulus is that all global tenders which are less than 200 crores are open only for MSMEs. I mean, they are not open for global players. So these are the various advantages that are there. The second is, what stage of the business are you in? Here I'd like to cover a small model, in the sense that first you decide which kind of a company you are. You could be a lifestyle company which is just raising a revenue of about 10 crores and staying stable and generating profits, or whether you're part of the high growth startup segment which goes after 10x revenues and 5x kind of expansion every year. On the y-axis, on the x-axis, there is the stage of the company that you are in. Where are you at an idea stage, or an MVP stage, or an early revenues, or followed by steady revenue and market capturing? Now, I don't know the composition of the audience, but for the benefit of all, I'll cover. So if you're at an idea stage or a minimum viable product or early revenues, then friends and family, angel investors, incubators, and for MSMEs, mostly it is family or promoter funds. That's how you start a company. At early revenues, you have a choice. You can go in for angel investors or fund of funds or VC funds, which is called the valuation thinking, if you think that your idea or your business can grow very fast. So that is the VC funds or the valuation thinking, which is expand revenues, go into a very high valuation and provide an exit to the investors. The third and the more possible thing today, if you look at, is the short-term bank loan or a dividend thinking. Now, startups who are in the VC fund area can come down to the short-term bank loans, or MSMEs can also go up to the VC funds kind of a thing. Now, this interchangeability has to happen as you think through. And lastly, at the stage of market capturing, there is private equity funds. Now, this is the standard definition, but what is there at the beginning of it? If you are at an early revenue stage and steady revenue, please also understand that if you can position yourself as corporate social responsibility or corporate sponsors, and you can appeal to them, there is nothing like raising funds from them as well, because every company is forced to spend on CSR. I know of a startup which was into IoT manufacturing, digital manufacturing IoT startup, and he may be there as part of the audience, who's repositioned himself quickly in the month of February and March, and launched a cloud solution of the same dashboard that he was implementing at manufacturing location. And believe you, he has just used the COVID requirements of compliance with contactless sanitization, social distancing, into implementing this for facilities management in malls. and he has just cracked 4 malls in the UAE, sitting in India all alone and completely online. So you imagine if you are in that state of of the company where there is a flexibility available, these are the things that you can do. And finally, as I said, how can you make yourself investor friendly? Now, investor friendly is a very broad term, but the way you can make yourself investor friendly is by looking at the first thing is your team. Yesterday only it is announced that the sweat equity can be extended to 10 years. Nothing like music for good investors who can rest assured that the team is because they invest in the team as well. So if the team is together, there are more chances of you getting those funds. The second is, are there any segments in the past that you have overlooked for any reason, but those segments have cash flows? Because cash flow is king right now in the COVID-19. So please start looking at cash flow segments. Third is, and this has been repeated by Professor Ashwath Damodaran as well, is that can you develop a business model that allows you to scale up rapidly, but more importantly, scale down rapidly as well? So this is something that you have to please understand. And lastly, can you develop a very strong narrative to match the product or service offering, something that may lead to a surrogate for valuation? For example, why only I look at this economic stimulus? If you see 6 months ago, for every new venture, the corporate tax has been reduced to 15% plus 2% surcharge for starting before 2021. Now, I believe this may be extended, is what yesterday's newspaper article says. So can you combine what you're doing with something like this? Because at 17% corporate tax, you might be cheapest in the world to provide such a service. There's also, for some industries, there is also a relaxation on revenues for exports of 6 to 8% less taxes that you have to pay. So my question, and in the recent announcement, agri-tech or agriculture, food processing, healthcare, all these areas are receiving a lot of attention. So if you can make this pitch in a very, very cogent and combined manner, I think it will be very good. So these are the 3 points that I wanted to discuss, which business are you in, what stage are you in, and can you become investor friendly? So just to sum up, there's a lot of work for you to do, but please rest assured that if you direct your passion and creativity in the right direction, get some sane advice and implement very strongly on the ground, I think you can surpass your own expectations and tackle the COVID-19 properly. Thank you so much, and more than happy to answer any questions, especially the sections that I went fast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kodmare. It was nice at least to understand how that MSME have to realign themselves to take benefit of the package that has been announced. We'll come to some question answers that have just come in for you a little later, but let us move on to Mr. Manas Ranjan Biswal. Mr. Biswal is the ED of Union Bank of India, and he will speak on how MSMEs can avail of the loans that have been announced by the government under the 3 lakh crore package. Mr. Biswal assumed the charge of Executive Director of Union Bank of India on 1st March 2019. He's a graduate in science and a certified associate of Indian Institute of Bankers. He joined Punjab National Bank, where he had a long stint since 1985. As he started as a management trainee. Prior to his elevation as Executive Director of Union Bank, he was the General Manager at the Corporate Office of the Punjab National Bank, heading the Resolution and NCLT Division. He has over 35 years of rich experience in various administrative and functional capacities at branches, regional office, zonal office, and corporate office. He has also worked as CEO of the Punjab National Bank in Dubai branch, in the Middle East operations, and has headed the entire Eastern zone for Punjab National Bank. At the corporate level, he has headed the Credit Monitoring and Review Division, Recovery Division, Resolution, and NCLT divisions of Punjab National Bank. He comes with a rich experience of banking, and I'm sure he will share with us the process, the eligibility for getting under the newly announced package by the Finance Minister. Over to you, Mr. Biswal.
Yeah. Thank you, Nanji. Thank you very much for the brief introduction. And good afternoon to everybody. already Siriji has dealt in detail about the MSME, and I'm sure, as Nayanji had remarked in his opening remarks, that MSME sector have a lot of problems. And these problems have been aggravated by, again, this COVID-19 situation. Finance Minister has declared a 3 lakh crore package for this sector. Let me clarify some of the things which might be there in your mind. This is a collateral-free loan for the existing borrowers of the banks or financial institutions or NBFCs. So it has nothing to do with any new borrower or a new entrepreneur who is not banking with any of the institutions. So it is for the existing borrowers. And it is guaranteed by Government of India, and it is 20% of your outstanding as on 29th of February 2000. Outstanding, I mean, let me clarify again. It is not related to any limit. You may be having a limit of 40 crores. If your outstanding was up to 25 crore as on 29th February, you are eligible under this scheme. Again, all business enterprises, whether it is MSME or non-MSME, everybody is eligible under this scheme. It has nothing to do with the recent classification of MSME. Simple criteria, 29th of February, if our outstanding is up to 25 crore, then you are eligible for 20% of your outstanding. One thing, let me again clarify, there are some conditions attached to it. Number one is your 25 crore outstanding or limit, whatever you have availed, it should be from all financial institutions you are dealing with. It is not with individual banks or individual NBFCs or anything. So all lending institutions put together, your outstanding should be less than or up to 25 crore. Then as on 29th of February, if you are in default, and default is within 60 days, you are eligible. If the default is more than 60 days, then you are not eligible. That means in banking language, if your account is under SMA 2, you are not eligible. If it is under SMA 0 and 1, you are eligible for this facility. Then one more criteria is your turnover should be up to 100 crore as on during the year 1920. So this either you have to give a proof of that that yes, you have turnover up to 25 within 100 crore, or you can give a simple declaration that yes, my turnover is within 100 crore. So that is also acceptable. Then it is this 20%, this outstanding is on your on balance sheet item, not any off balance sheet item. What I mean is whatever fund based limit you have, whether it is working capital or term loan, everything will be included, and on that you will get 20%, not on the non fund based limit, whatever you are availing. If you have, then that will not be taken into consideration. Any off balance sheet item will not be taken into consideration. Then this scheme is available up to 31st of October 2020, or if it is withdrawn before that by the guaranteeing agency. That the scheme says if it is up to 3 lakh crore, it can be withdrawn once it reaches 3 lakh crore. Otherwise, it is available up to 31st of October 2020. And the repayment is to be made in 4 years or 48 months with 12 months of moratorium and 36 months of repayment. The moratorium is only for the principal amount, not for the interest during the moratorium. Interest has to be served during the moratorium period. The principal repayment will start after 12 months and it has to be repaid within the next 36 months. So total it will be 48 months. And as regards the interest, the scheme says the interest should be external benchmark rate of a bank plus 1%, subject to maximum of 9.25%. For my bank, Union Bank, like my external benchmark rate is 7.2. So added 1% to that, it should be 8.2. But in Union Bank, we have kept it at 7.5%. So this loan is available from Union Bank of India at 7.5%. Maybe it will differ with other banks. So each bank has to decide their own rate. But maximum cap is 9.25% if it is bank and financial institution. If it is NBFC, then maximum cap is 14%. There is no guarantee fee to be paid. There is no prepayment penalty, no collateral security, and you can avail it from, if you are dealing with multiple lenders, you can avail it from multiple lenders or from a single lender. If you want to avail it from a single lender, then you require NOC from other lenders. They should permit that yes, you can avail from a single lender, or else you have the flexibility. You can avail 20% from each lender. These are some of the broad parameters of this scheme. In case anything detail is required, I'll answer in the question and answer session. In addition to this, banks, particularly public sector banks, they have come out immediately after this COVID situation with an emergency line of credit, which was 10% of your fund-based working capital limit. And in that scheme, there is no ceiling of 25 crore or anything. Anybody even beyond 25 crore, they can avail under that scheme. That is a bank's own scheme, also collateral free, and there is no margin requirement, very concessional rate of interest. And that scheme in Union Bank, it is to be repaid in 24 months with 6 months moratorium and 18 months repayment period. That scheme is still on. And any business entity who has availed facility under that scheme is also eligible under this government guaranteed scheme. So an entity having outstanding up to 25 crore, he can avail 10% under that scheme and 20% under this scheme. So that is also available to them. So these are some of the major scheme parameters, and any particular clarification required, I will answer it in the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Mr. Biswal, before we get into question answer, just one question which you can cover up, which everybody would like to know. What is the process of availing this? I mean, you said, okay,
Yeah.
eligibility, but what is the process and the time frame? You have given the interested process and the time frame. If you give that, then we'll come back to the question answers.
Yeah. As of now, all banks, they have, because this is a pre-approved loan, everybody is eligible whosoever has outstanding up to 25 crore on 29th of April. So almost all banks, I can say about the public sector banks, we have given SMS to all our eligible borrowers that their loan is sanctioned. Only thing they have to approach the branch they are dealing with for disbursement. There is a simple application form. Only thing they have to declare that yes, their turnover is within 100 crore. And one more parameter which I forgot to mention, that the GST registration is compulsory for those units where GST registration is mandatory. For those units which those exempted from GST registration, for them it is not mandatory. So everybody should have those units mandatory requirement for GST registration is there. They should also mention their GST registration. In addition to the SMS, we have sent mail, and we have also in our bank, in my bank particularly, we have also sent hard copy of the sanction letter to all eligible borrowers. And as of now, as of yesterday, I can share some figure with you. In our bank, as an amalgamated entity of Union Bank, Corporation Bank, and Andhra Bank, we had around 6,20,000 eligible borrowers under this scheme. And as on yesterday, we have already disbursed more than 1 lakh loans to all those eligible borrowers. And the TAT is around 3 to 4 days max. The turnaround time means the day you apply and the day disbursement is made, it is around 3 to 4 days. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think, thank you, Mr. Biswal, for giving us this broad outline. During your talk, many questions came up on the financing front. But before that, I would like to summarize, or let's say, I would like to squeeze your talk and take the juice out of it and say that juice was a bit bitter. In the sense, a startup is a new company. A startup may not have a GST registration. A startup may not have had a loan taken. Startup may not have a pending loan. Now, if these criteria are not met, my poor friends, my colleagues, my bachas cannot avail of any loan in the startup under this scheme at least. So that's one thing that we want to take out. But notwithstanding that, there are many who have and they have asked the questions. I would like to put them to you. I'll come back to these very questions also again at the end. One was, I will take it in random as they appear. They said, do you require a person? Some banks have been asking personal guarantee on this. Why should they ask for a PG on this?
No, let me again clarify.
Now, if it is guaranteed by the government, why do you want my guarantee?
You are absolutely right, not at all required. Whatever existing security is there in your main account, that will be extended to this account. Nothing additional, nothing.
Exactly. There is no additional PG to be given because
No. The scheme is very clear on that.
The person is already existing client of yours, existing, he has taken a loan, he has given all his documents and everything. All that he needs to do is, hey guys, this is 20, as of 29, this is my outstanding, 20% of this just sanctioned to me, right?
Absolutely.
Am I correct?
Right. You are,
So
you are
just
absolutely
clarifying to the person who asked the question. That's all. Secondly, is there an elaborate paperwork or is it a simple form or just a letter?
I
Because
can't comment about other banks.
Banks and financial institutions tend to create a lot of paperwork. For this particular issue, is there additional paperwork or just a simple letter? Because you know the outstanding. We did not say. Our turnover is 99% known to you because the earlier balance sheet also you have taken. So GST registration, you know that it is a GST register. So the criteria that they have to fulfill are normally known to his bank. So just a letter or an understanding would suffice, or an elaborate paperwork is required? Just asking.
I cannot comment about other banks, but in my bank, it is a very simple one-page form with 7-8 columns to be filled only. It's not a very elaborate form. We are not asking any additional paper. You give a balance sheet or give these, that. Nothing else is required except in the declaration that yes, suppose in many cases March 20 balance sheet has not been finalized. So we want a simple declaration from the borrower that yes, my turnover is within 100 crore and or my turnover is around 90 crore and the variation will not be more than 5-10%, whatever it may be. So it's a very simple declaration, simple application format. Nothing much is required.
Okay. One of the other question was the interest that you charge, or let's say this loan, I have an existing loan and I have got this 20% loan. The repayment that I make, will you adjust that against the old loan or the current loan first?
As per the scheme, the priority on your cash flow is on the existing loan. First, you
First
pay your
existing.
existing loan. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Because
And
there the
this,
liability, because there I have a liability, here I don't have that much a liability in a sense.
yeah, because this is government guaranteed. So the security as well as the cash flow, they have
Yeah.
second paripasu charge, not first charge.
Okay. Now you said, sir, that it is available till 31st of October.
Yeah.
Has the process started? Many banks, many clients, many of our members say the banks have still not started the work. Now, if it is already June, the disbursement understand starting from September, is it?
As I told you, as of yesterday, 1 lakh borrowers have availed this loan from my bank. As on yesterday.
Disbursed also?
Disbursed. I'm telling you about the disbursed. Sanction is 6 lakh 23. They are eligible. All of them are sanctioned. But the disbursement is around 1 lakh. 1 lakh borrowers.
Very nice, sir. Nice to hear that, because it's contradicting information that otherwise we get from some other banks. The next question is, if a person is not eligible under this, because most of the startups, the micro, for example, 99.5% units are micro size, and they may not have even gone to the bank. Even if they have gone to a bank, what would be their loan amount? And then what would be their outstanding? And then 20% of that outstanding, practically zero. You will agree, sir? Are there other schemes of the bank or Union Bank, now that you are here, I'm just asking a question, that bank where new people can come and avail of certain loans?
Yeah, there are good number of schemes in each bank for MSME borrowers, and specific even some specific schemes are there for specific category of borrowers, and those things are concurrently going on. It's not that only this COVID loan, guaranteed loan is being disbursed. Those things are concurrently going on, and as I said also, in addition to this government guaranteed emergency line of credit, because this is up to 25 crore only, banks, particularly public sector banks, they have their own emergency line of credit scheme, which is 10%, which is again collateral free, and it is still on.
Nayan bhai, this is Shirish here. Can I just come in for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
See, in addition to what is available in the bank, what I mentioned is also that venture debt. Now, I have a report saying that venture debt funds, which are operating just like, VC funds, but giving on more on debt and interest, they have got at least, they are getting 100 requests per day from precisely these startups. So I saw a few questions saying that, what can a startup do in the beginning? I think that's a good choice, because that equity dilution need not happen then. Just wanted to say that. He says, yeah, it is expensive. I just saw a comment saying that it is expensive. Of course, it is expensive.
It is expensive.
I mean, but without, if you have the confidence that your equity valuation will take you up, then I think that's at least of, a good strength that you can bank on.
At least to start up, you need something, and that's where you can avail that.
Yeah, I mean, you put fuel in the tank and then make the car run.
The other question was, I'm finishing a couple of questions on the banking. If there's a moratorium for the first year for the interest payment,
not for interest payment, principal payment.
For the principal, so the interest continues, and then only that will be given that. So at the end of the term, that cumulative might become much more than the 7.25%. Your 7.5%.
No, I could not get your question exactly.
It's a simple interest, 7.5%, right?
It's not a simple interest.
Will you, because it has not been paid for the first year, that will you add to that?
No, in Union Bank of India, Yeah. In Union Bank of India, this 7.5% interest is fixed for the entire tenure of 4 years, right? So
Yeah.
even if there is any increase in interest, we are not going to increase the interest rate under this scheme. So 7.5% is fixed. Regarding the method of calculation, simple compounding, it is always compounding. But if you are paying in time, then there is no question of getting compounded.
Yeah, that,
If you are
that I
not,
agree.
if you are not paying, yeah, definitely it will get compounded.
But that first year on the principle
Yeah.
that we have not only the interest
Even during the
portion,
first year, you have to pay your interest, which is charged every month. You have to pay every month. Only
at
the
the
interest
month,
portion.
at every
Yeah.
month. Okay.
Every month. Correct.
Otherwise that gets compounded.
That gets compounded. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Shirish, I'm asking a cross question. If startups cannot avail of such facilities, what is the advantage for them to get registered as MSMEs?
Okay, good question. The point is that at least registering as an MSME gives them a basic facility. Like I was seeing some other questions that the 45-day outstanding, for example. You know,
I'm going to comment on that also.
yeah, so that is one.
Let's
Then you
finish
know,
the thought.
as an MSME, you also qualify for some of the tenders that would be there. So I think at least it is something that will be good to go by. For example, I have a few startups that who have not been able to avail of the Mudra scheme because they don't have a positive balance sheet as well. So, you know, but at least what I'm trying to say is that in this package, as I mentioned, that the word startup was not mentioned in all the 5 days. So I don't know whether this is really meant for startups. But I mean, I have been part of a startup myself, so I know, you know, you are just using whatever way you have to survive. So, you know, at least you can have something that is there, and you know, hold on to that and try and club together, you know, a lot of things together.
Nanji, just one
Just-
point I want to clarify.
Yeah.
It's not that startups are not eligible under this scheme. If the startups, they are having existing banking relationship and they have outstanding on 29th of February, they are eligible. Only thing that if they do not have any banking relationship with either any bank or a financial institution or NBFC, then of course they are not eligible under this scheme.
Sure. And that's a different subject. Why a new, or let's say existing, even those who have a banking relationship, but no outstanding loans, just because I was doing good, and I did not take a loan from Union Bank, and now that I'm in a problem, I want a loan, I am not eligible. It's a different issue.
You
But
are not
coming
eligible under this scheme only, but otherwise you are
this scheme,
eligible for
I'm talking about this
yeah,
scheme.
correct.
I did not come in the other scheme because it was too expensive for me. That's why I did not come there. Shirish, you talked about that 45 days credit, and this was one of the questions also asked by one of the participants, that MSMEs are supposed to be guaranteed payment within 45 days, both by the public sector and the big corporates. I took up this issue with Nitin Gadkari about a few days back. If you see the notification of 2nd December 2018, although it is issued by the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, the whole ministry, it is falsely worded that it is available only to micro and small. The word medium is left out in that. I presume it is either a deliberate by the Babus or a mistake. But I have pointed this out to the Honorable Minister to make these corrections in that notification so that MSME also, the medium also gets covered. Now the question was, sir, why do you not implement a law that you make that in 45 days, forget the private sector corporates, even the government and the PSUs are not paying the MSMEs within 45 days. Even if you do that, there will be some relief to the sector. He was very guarded on that. He says, you know, financial problems are there even for the government, the PSUs, the big boys, the corporates. I cannot force them to pay in 45 days. Now that is the state of affairs, but we have told him and we have pushed that. Indian Merchants Chamber has taken up that issue with them. We are going to make sure that in a very short time we change this clause and also try and see how we can make it implementable. What he has said is, I can do one thing. A suggestion was given to him, which is accepted, that he makes it mandatory for all those to align with the banks. So let's say Union Bank has a big client. I am an MSME supplier to them. I discount my bill on the 45th day. Automatic discounting of the bill on 45th day with Union Bank. And he can avail of an additional interest by paying interest through the bank. Because bankers are very easy to, very free and very liberal in giving loans or let's say extending loans to those big boys and not to the small people. So MSMEs can encash their bills on the 45th day by bill discounting, which is there already, but they are not making it. It is to the discretion of the supplier or of the buyer. Now he says, can I make it mandatory? Can I bring in a stricter thing? This is the option that we are trying to work on. So there was one question where somebody asked about 45 days. I would like to sum this up. Mr. Biswal, what do you feel about it? How can the MSMEs be guaranteed some payment?
On this, I will just like to highlight that you have a trades platform. Exactly for this purpose, where MSME can come in and their bills will be discounted at a very, very finer rate.
Yeah.
But subject to condition that yes, the buyer should accept that bill. Accept. In most of the cases, as you rightly said, the PSUs or maybe some of the big corporates that do not accept that bill. Once that bill is accepted, it is very well discounted. There is competition among the bankers to discount that in the trades platform.
Yeah. Yeah, but it creates,
even we have suggested to the government that to make it mandatory for public sector undertakings that they should onboard in the trades platform, number one, and they should accept those bills, even if it is to be paid within 45 days. Once today, suppose the MSME has uploaded his invoice in the trades platform, they should accept immediately, and the next day it can be discounted by the banks.
It should be done. Otherwise, what is the point making a law?
Yeah, correct. It is done,
we are going to push.
Maybe.
This is one area that we want to push. If nothing, at least one benefit can be got, at least in terms of cash flow. It will help the companies.
I think from your side, you can push to the government for implementing this one. Yes. Bankers are very comfortable in trades platform, and we, particularly Union Bank, we do every day in the trades platform where a huge amount of bills are also discounted.
I see. Okay, we have also. Most of the questions are here more be related that if I am a fresh loan taker, what happens? Both you and Shirish have replied that yes, there are other schemes under which one can take loans. Many feel that the startup and the MSMEs, they feel they missed the bus just because they did not take the loans earlier, and they don't have outstanding loans and they cannot come to you for the loan under the current scheme. We are only talking about the package of 3 lakh crore. So you said the government, there is one fine print in this notification that the government may withdraw. You use the word withdraw.
Not withdraw. Once it reaches, the scheme says once it reaches 3 lakh crore.
It's a ceiling. It cannot be withdrawn. It's a ceiling.
Correct.
No, the word is if the notification, if your internal communication uses the word withdrawn, which means if a scheme is withdrawn, everything earlier falls flat. But it is a ceiling, a cap. A cap has been put at 3 lakhs crore.
Yeah. I may be corrected to that. Actually, it is a cap only. It is not withdrawn.
Is each bank been given a quota or first come first serve?
No quota has been given because government has the data that MSME borrowers up to 25 crore, it is around 15 lakh crore across the system. So that is the basis, 20%, 3 lakh crore, even if all of them avail. And I am sure everybody is not going to avail that also.
Not avail.
So there,
our understanding is not even 10 to 15% will avail, because the eligibility, because you put eligibility of only how much? Eligibility of, first of all, outstanding is on 1st of March, 29th of February. Many may not have, even if they are borrowers, they may not have that much. And as I said, if I have a crore, what will you give me 20% of those?
Yeah, 20% of that. Yes.
It,
you are
it may not suffice. It may not suffice and there will be most probably they will be from the medium scale and the small scale, none from the micro
right.
scale.
I see. This is one scheme to temporarily help the MSME sector or the business sector, and there are some many other schemes which even the RBI as a regulator has come out. There is liberalized working capital assessment and all. They have given the flexibility to banks for working capital reassessment, and for that also banks have come out with very good schemes for working capital reassessment by reducing the margin, by increasing the working capital cycle, by giving the cover period more, maybe 90 days data that has been increased to 180 days. There are many other things are there to help the sector also. It's not that only this is the scheme.
Somebody is also, after hearing you, somebody is even asked, how can one bank with Union Bank
Open an account.
open an account? That's it.
So
You're always most welcome. And for MSME sector, let me, because he has asked, let me give some brief about my structure. For
Yeah.
MSME sector in different cities, we have the specified branch, we call it SARAL. They deal only with MSME sector, and it is a vertical structure. Once you apply, either it will be sanctioned there if it is within his delegated power, or straight away it will come to the corporate office. It does not flow through any administrative structure like a regional office, zonal office, or all those things. So we have a vertical structure for MSME, which deals with MSME sector. It is working well. We have this system for last 2 years, and now it is perfectly established.
Okay. Shirish, your question was for MSME.
yes,
Apart from, if you know of anything else, that are there any other schemes, not just the financial schemes, but other schemes available for MSME? Of course, there are many. One can list, there is a huge list. In fact, I have a PowerPoint presentation ready of all the schemes available for MSME. But you want to speak a minute or so on what the benefits of becoming an MSME, other than just taking those recent ones that you can get a contract under 200 crores or 45 days payment. Are there any other benefits that you know of?
see, one of the benefits, I think, something that missed our attention is that, the services and manufacturing are at the same level right now.
That's one
And
big advantage that
there's a very big advantage because most of the startups come in as services because none of them have products to show.
Yeah.
All right. And the second thing is that what I have seen is that most of the fund disbursers are very keen to even dilute some of their norms. Like there was a question saying that venture debt is also not given for people who have not borrowed earlier. I mean, I have a lot of classmates and in all these, venture debt funds. See, finally, what is it for someone who's dispersing, money? The MSME registration gives him a little more confidence, if I may say so. Because finally, it's a question of lending to someone and you don't know whether that is going to come back or not. So, for example, there are certain venture debt funds who also are taking part of equity as well. Now, if a venture debt fund by its sheer definition means that there is no equity. But they are willing, if the whole thing can be presented in a manner to the investor, they are looking at taking equity as well. And that nothing more confident than that. So I think, registering as an MSME, while it does not really give you a major advantage right now, it is also, as you said rightly, I mean, if you are registered as an MSME and at least taken one loan, even if Mudra can be taken based on certain first or second year financials, I think it can be really good. So I think there's still an advantage rather than not having it at all.
Good. Now, the question to both, there is one, I'll just read out. Dear sirs, a question from a fintech. Is the current situation going to affect the current DSA companies' lending models between banks and fintechs? Question from a fintech startup who pivoted temporarily to telemedicine and rolled out products to government for it, but has his heart set on lending business still. In the sense of fintech, do you think this think is going to affect them?
No, I think I saw the question. I replied back to it saying that it's a very good idea. But I think the fintechs will again fall. I mean, it's for Biswalji to comment as well because he is more aware of this space. But just the danger of doing that is the fintech will just become another NBFC, and then there are NBFCs in a line who are declaring themselves as not doing very well. So
Yeah.
I think if you can manage that well, because
Hmm.
NBFCs, as you see, that space is really. I mean, if you look at the stock market as well, I mean, they're really, really suffering. So my only fear there is that fintech becoming an NBFC in that way of speaking. Otherwise, I think it's a very good idea because at least the fintech have a way of disbursing things which are trackable at least. Of course, it is for Mr. Biswal to comment. I'm sorry.
No, in fact, for lending, RBI has to permit you, but there is P2P lending. There, I think fintechs are have to be registered only, and they can lend there also in P2P lending. But lending as such to individual customers and like that, you have to get a lending license from Reserve Bank. And as you rightly said, it is mostly the NBFCs.
Yeah, but the other point that I want to say, and I'm seeing a lot of comments on the chat, is that Nayan bhai, I think you are a champion of this, and I must state it that with someone like you at the helm, I think we have a lot to I mean, I will also add my list of things that I want you to do for this entire sector. For example, there was one question about this TDS. I mean,
Yes.
collecting 10% or 7.5% in advance. I
Yeah.
think, I mean, I'm for want of a lack of a better word, I think it is criminal today in today's world where every single rupee matters to you. When you're earning something, you have to deduct 10% and deposit the next month. Things like this also can be, because the money is going to come to you. There's nothing going wrong with it. At least you can demonstrate that, as I mentioned, cash flows in any manner and any name or tag to it are always welcome. So this can be actually a cash flow into the business rather than giving it to the government. Things those.
I agree, because see what happens is government also talks about their own cash flow and wants that upfront, whether it is advance tax, TDS, or in whichever form. Corporates, companies also have to manage that way. And the worst part is whatever they collect, we all know a fraction only gets put to good use. Like I'll give you a classic example, I mean, just to share. The finance minister announced 500 crores for that honey production in the agriculture sector. Now 500 crores for honeybees, for beehives in a country like India, by the time they trickle down, each district on each taluka might only get about 10,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees. How many beehives are they going to set up? Because the administrative cost is too high. And therefore, they have left the TDS collection to us, reducing their collection cost and putting an impact on our cash flow. There are many such issues that we need to take up.
Yeah.
I think COVID has thrown up a lot more issues in the public domain because we all knew where the shoe pinched, but nobody spoke about it.
Yes.
In this 2-3 months, every smallest issue has come to the fore. And I think there are associations, whether it is CII, FICCI, SOCM, IMC, and others, TAI, NESCOM, they're all collating all those things. And slowly and gradually, I think the government will be made to listen to at least some, if not most of those issues.
My personal view is that some of these things can be amenable with the government if you actually prove to them that whatever they are doing is being used. For example, I mentioned that there is a 6 to 8% tax that you can get back because of a production-linked incentive (PLI) in the chemicals business if you export.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, I mean, I was just looking at the tax structure of at least 10 to 15 businesses. Out of that, at least 6 to 7 businesses, you are actually more competitive in the global market with respect to countries like China, Taiwan, and other countries that are there, Vietnam as well. So if you just make a quick calculation, whatever you are producing and selling at, it becomes so attractive. I think you have to balance it, as you rightly mentioned, that there are some things that are not useful, but there are others which are very useful. There's a 15% import tax of COVID today that is applied on a few industries. How many of us actually go into the fine print, and no one is actually utilizing that? To my mind, people who know only may be utilizing it. And this is something on the table today. Rather than wait for something to come, the fund of funds, I mean, my last discussion with people in that, they're saying it will take some time because they are just saying that if we announce it and a manufacturing company applies for it, how will he prove that he can do 10x revenues in a matter of 2 years? I mean, then by you run a manufacturing company, can you do 10x revenues in 6 months or 10 months? You can't. So those are the things I think which are on the table. My only request to everyone in the audience is that what is on the table, if you have a real hard look, there is a lot of things that can come out of it.
The other question that came up, I mean, the two panelists and others can discuss. We are talking about this MSME definition and where we brought in the service and the manufacturing sectors, both. What about the trading community? Why not the traders? Why should they not qualify under MSME? I mean, we put this up to Mr. Gadkari also. So I'm putting to the two junior Gadkaris here as well.
Well, I think I will leave it to the senior Gadkari to answer.
As far banking facilities are concerned, traders are covered under MSME. All facilities, even this scheme, it is available to the traders also. So very
Yes,
well,
this scheme is
traders,
available.
Yeah.
Because the finance
Otherwise
minister,
also,
because the finance minister in the clarification in the last 4-5 days said, anybody can avail of this scheme, even if
Yeah,
you are not MSME.
even if you are not MSME.
Even if you are not MSME, you can avail of this 3 lakh crore scheme. That is okay. But in the definition of MSME, if a service can be taken, why not a trader? Now, trader is somebody between service and manufacturing, right?
You are right.
If 2 extremes are covered under so-called MSME, why not a trader is a question for discussion.
So far as CGTMSE coverage is concerned, traders are considered as under MSME. So CGTMSE cover is available even to the traders.
Yeah.
So I think for a banking facility, traders are covered under MSME.
I think, friends, we have extended our time. We will bring an end to this question answers at this stage. There are some questions, but we will take it up. What I plan to do is, Thai will collect all these questions and I will take the liberty of sending it across to both Shirish and Biswal sir for your comment.
More than happy,
and at this stage, I would just like to thank you both for sparing your time and being with us. And with a personal request that should our members need any support, and by the way, they need support from both of you and experts like you, they always need support that would be forthcoming. We would like to continue this interaction with you in the coming months and days so that we see how we can help the startups and the other MSMEs in general to take their business forward. With these words, thank you both and thank you all the participants for being with us today. Sorry if I missed out taking up your questions, but believe me, all those that you have sent, we will collect them and send it and we will get back to you on that. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Nayan bhai. Excellent.
Thank you, Nayanji. Thank you.
And the audience as well. And you have a good fan following now after this.
Sure, thanks. Thank you. Okay.